And then for all of y'all, if y'all have questions, you can put them in the chat box, and we'll have time right at the end when Mickey finishes that he can answer questions for y'all. I'm sure you have a ton.
That sounds good. Thank you. I don't have like a huge agenda to discuss, but I will go over some basics with you guys. So EXP residential versus EXP commercial. That's the first thing I wanted to go over, because this question actually came up at our retreat. And the difference between the two is that the residential side, you have flexibility of doing both per se, residential and commercial, and you get a chance to really, I guess, be residential and a commercial agent. That's the difference with the residential side. On the commercial side, they're pretty strict, and they just want you to do commercial, so you can't do any residential. And they really have a, I guess, more of a niche on that side. And the other thing about the commercial side is that it's growing. It's a new division, so it's new. I think across the U.S., the last time I looked at the stats on that side, they had under 1,000 agents across the U.S. So it's still growing. That's still a big number for a commercial side. So don't think of it as a small number. It's pretty big. But the thing with the commercial side is that they've pursued me a couple of times, but I have not wanted to go over. The biggest reason was that my MLS access goes away. I can't practice residential, which it's still my bread and butter, and I have a team. I have a team of 10 agents, and all of the agents on the team mainly do residential. So I have to give that team up as well. I can't take myself over to the commercial side and then keep my team on the residential side. So there's some, I guess, growing pains that are going to have to happen with a transition where it could make sense for someone like me. But until then, they are allowing me to do commercial on the residential side, and they do cap it off at a number, but EXP has always been accommodating to where if I show that I can manage both sides and I still, am compliant with paperwork and everything, they will let me be on the residential side and still do commercial, which is what I'm able to do now. And they've honored me with also letting me be a mentor. So I'm not only a residential mentor, but I'm also a commercial mentor. So if anybody wants to pursue a commercial deal through the residential side, EXP will probably get involved and say, hey, go find yourself a mentor to talk to. And I'm one of those. So if you're ever interested, you can always call me on the side and we can talk about how I can help you, mentor you, that kind of thing. And it's always case by case basis. It's not always just a standard, mentor fee, but I am always here to help the agent not only make money, get a deal done, but also I'm not here to take their money. So I'm just here to I customize all of the deals that I worked with every agent that we have in the Team Legacy group and every agent that I've worked with. And so that kind of is always something I'm always willing to talk about and help with. Besides the mentorship side of it, the tools that are given to you on the commercial side are pretty cool. I've explored some of them. I have an agent on the commercial side that I've been able to sit down with and check some of the tools that he has. But the only caveat is when you're on the residential side, you have to pay quite a bit for your memberships on some commercial stuff, including CoStar and LoopNet. You guys have probably heard of those two before, and those two are pretty expensive, and so whenever I do any sort of mentorship or get involved with a deal, I always tell the other agent, hey, look, I will use my membership and it's already been paid for. So don't create your own, don't waste your money. If you start churning these out, then you can become a member as well. But until then, just use mine and I'll help you, kind of run data. CoStar is there for data. That's where you run comps. That's where you see a lot of things like traffic report, average, income, and a bunch of other stuff. It's a very complicated software. It's kind of like KV Core. KV Core has so many features, so does CoStar. So, I have an active membership of both. So if you ever have questions about commercial comps or just random commercial questions, you can call me and I'll log into my account and kind of get you some data. I also am happy to answer any questions if you want to do live questions or like Amanda said, we can do questions in the chat box, like whatever is easier. I'm able to handle that. Sydney, what do you suggest?
We could see right now if anyone has any questions, and then they could also go in the chat box.
Great, great. Yeah, I'm looking in the chat box now, Sydney, and I see one that says, what's the cap that they require on the commercial? If you're gonna do a switch to the commercial side, the cap over there is 20,000, but they don't have an icon program, so they don't have a way for you to earn all your shares back, right? So that's another thing that they're going to have to kind of, I think they're working on it, but that commercial or that icon requirement is going to have to be different, because for you to cap and then do 20 transactions, it's just not going to be doable on the commercial side unless you're just, you're just turning out transactions, but it's something they'll work on. So the cap over there is 20 grand, but you don't get a chance to do any icon program. You do get shares, but you can't do the icon.
In your
Question.
experience, how many can you get away with? I think is what she's asking as a residential agent.
Sure. Yeah.
Right,
So I
right.
believe the number is 7 per year, and it sounds low, but 7's a hefty amount of real estate transactions, commercial transactions per year. So if you stay at that number, and if you go over, they'll probably make an exception. You'll just have to talk to Tony King and Enid Cleland. Those two are like the folks that I've always talked to about anything regarding compliance and my limit. To be truthful, because I have taken on the mentor role, they have not really come to me and said, hey, we want you to go ahead and switch. The commercial side wants me to switch, but it's not been something that I'm required to do at this point. So right now, the magic number is 7, Amanda. So I think that's a hefty number. I don't think a lot of people surpass that on a yearly basis. And if they do, they can call me and we can work something out to where I can do the transaction for them and just give them a referral back. So there's ways to kind of help stabilize that. One other thing I wanted to mention was, whenever you are representing a tenant or a buyer, right, you're going to be looking at properties in LoopNet. You can have a free account on LoopNet. So go ahead and register and just explore LoopNet a little bit. Look at how listings are put on there, how the profiles are of each listing. And if you ever contact the other broker, they're going to take some time to message you back. Commercial brokers are basically working bankers' hours. And so they are not going to respond on weekends. Most of them don't, which is normal. And then they're just going to, give you data or basic information about it. It's up to you to really do your homework. And they're not in the business of really helping you get the sale done. That's just not how, they operate. They only represent one side, and they'll wait as long as it takes to get the right person, buyer or tenant. So, sometimes as listing agents, we may help buyer side out, but that's not really how it works on the commercial side. It's the deep ocean over there. So make sure you have a life raft. So yeah, I mean, on the weekends especially, they don't work weekends. So just keep that in mind. And
such a good tip, because I remember I was trying to do a commercial lease, and I'm just so used to residential agents. I feel like, especially with our company, are so collaborative and we're friendly and we're going to text you right back. And there it's like, we are not friends. Like, it's the good old boys club. They will not call. It's a 3-day response rate. They're not in a rush. And so I'm really interested to see how EXP getting involved in the commercial world might bring some technology and swiftness to the world, because maybe some deals don't need to take a year or two to happen. It's just the people who've been involved for 30 or 40 years are slowing us down.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the name of the game for them, is that, they're like a private country club, if you will, and to become a member takes a while, so you have to pay your dues. But EXP is bringing some legitimacy to it, Amanda. You're right. And whenever I introduce myself and I say I'm from EXP, some of them will recognize the name and say, okay, nice, very nice. I hear you guys are doing good things over there and that kind of thing. So at least the name recognition is there. You just have to get straight to the point with them. Most of the time, they're so very much, business-like, in the manner that there's no emotions on that side, on the commercial side, and that's one thing that to keep in mind, is that there's zero emotions. They mainly only want to deal with numbers. So they really don't care about anybody's emotions, including yours and your clients. So keep that in mind. You know, when you talk to them, just talk numbers, and that's really all it's about. You know, whether the numbers make sense for everyone. If they do, great, you'll get a deal done. If not, we move on. So that's a huge thing to remember. And on the weekends, it's tough. It's tough to get a hold of them.
I
Justin?
had a question. I had a question about the business side of things. Like what I've run across is I found a lot of people that want the commercial, but they want the business associated with that as well, and how to package those items to go along and, you know, and or market, you know, things like that when I come across them.
So what do you mean they want the business as well?
Like the established business, like say the business has been in 10 years, so the clients, the books, you know, the name, you know, if it may not necessarily be franchised, but it's that, you know, it's an LLC or something like that. So,
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
you know,
I got
all
you.
that kind of things.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So regarding businesses, when you're on the residential side, this is a key point. I'm glad you brought this up, Jennifer. So that when you are looking for a client, I'll give you an example. So I have a buyer who wants to buy a sandwich shop. Okay. The sandwich shop is established. It's not a franchise, but it's an established sandwich shop. And when they go to make this purchase, you're purchasing the business per se. You're not really purchasing any asset like a land or the building itself, because they're leasing it out, right? So you and I, as the residential agent, technically can't do that deal. We can give it up to a referral on the EXP commercial side. You have to give it up, and then you just get a referral out of it. That's the one thing the EXP has been pretty strict about, that they're not going to change anytime soon, is that if you're a residential agent, you can't handle a business being sold. You can handle an asset like a gas station where the property comes with it, or a hotel, or any of that. You know, you can do that, and you can do leases all day. But when you're doing just a business, they don't want you to do a transaction. There's too much liability on the EXP residential side for that. And going back to your original question, Jennifer, you were asking just about the business. So there are things that you have to ask for if you're representing a buyer. You know, you want 3 years worth of records. You want taxes. You also want P&L, which is profit and loss statement. And any small business usually has a CPA firm that they work with that will give you this information. So those are the things you really want to look out for, is how much taxes they're paid and their profit and loss for the last 3 years. 10 years is hard to get, but 3 years is the norm. And a rule of thumb usually, and it doesn't apply to all of it, but small businesses, is their price that they're listing at should be, you know, somewhere in that 3 times monthly, I guess, calculation, you know. So you look at whatever they're pricing it at, and you want to be able to make that money back in times 3, basically. So I can go over that more whenever we have an individual call or a message. So there's a few questions on the chat box. I'll cover a couple of them real quick.
Because I was wondering, not just the business, but they will have the real estate attached to it as well.
Mhm.
So like there's some that I found, even like listing wise, that they, you know, business available to be sold separately or with, you know, the real estate, you know, attached, whether it's a building or warehouse, you know, whatever that is. Like,
Gotcha.
so trying to price out the business plus the real estate, I don't know, that seems a little bit difficult at the moment for me. So
Yeah, it takes a little getting used to. It really does. And my advice would be to align with a couple of commercial lenders, because what they can do is they can give you a analysis of the data that you provide to them. If you go to a commercial lender who's willing to just sit down and analyze a property with you, they'll look at the numbers and tell you if the price is right and that kind of thing. So you'll get a free analysis from them. The other thing regarding the situation where you have a business and you have the real estate that comes with it, you can do that deal. The way to handle that is you have to get an attorney involved, a third-party attorney, and the attorney has to draw up what's called a bill of sale for the business side of it. So EXP will help you handle the real estate sale, you know, so if they're selling the land, you'll get the land transaction through EXP and the title company, and then an attorney will just draw up paperwork for the business side of it. So if you're selling the sandwich shop for 100,000 plus inventory, that data, that information, the attorney will draw it up and they will send that documentation to the title company, and the title company will add it to the closing packet. So we personally, as EXP agents, just can't handle that side of it. But if an attorney gets the paperwork done and gets, as long as it's a combo, as long as there's real estate attached to it, you can do it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Someone's asking Justin's asking about best way to find owners of distressed properties, closed down properties without signs that are not on LoopNet and Crexi. That's a good one, Justin. So whenever I want to look for stuff that is not on the market, I've played around with this a little bit, but Remind and HAR does give you some information on commercial. So you want to try that out. And also the account that I have with LoopNet, CoStar gives me a chance to look at things that are not on LoopNet and Crexi. So I can run some data through CoStar, which unfortunately not everyone will have access to, but that's the one I've used in the past. But yeah, to try Remind and click on commercial, I think there's an option for commercial. So you can get the owner's information off of Remind, just like you can get it off for residential houses. Jason is asking, is there a standard commission breakdown? Unfortunately, no, Jason. That's a great question. There is no standard. We always want 3, but those are always negotiable. And my advice, anytime you engage with a commercial broker, that should be one of the first questions that you ask and say, hey, what are you guys paying on this? And that's you're not used to asking that because you can just look on HAR, right, for a house. But this is something you have to ask and get it in writing pretty quickly because you want to make sure that your commission is secure. So it's not always a standard. I've seen the average to be anywhere from 2 to 4%. That's been the going that I've seen. All right. And then Jennifer, you said price fixing, it can be 2 to 10%. Are you talking about the commission?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen 10% on like kind of smaller deals along with the business, but I was also going to ask about the multifamily. Do you have like when you go after say like type A, is there kind of a script that you use as far as engaging with the owner, doing a cold call?
Yeah, there's not really a script, but for multifamily, I have had conversations with owners. We're very basic conversation, but I've said, hey, look, if I can find you a buyer at the price that they'll make you happy, will you secure a listing at that point with me? And what will happen is they will want it to be off the market until you find a buyer. So a lot of sellers do that in hospitality, which is hotels, and also in multifamily. So we will put an agreement together, just a one-page document that says something to the effect of, hey, if I secure a buyer for you, you will let me be your listing agent and you will pay a total of this amount, X amount in commission. So that's the kind of conversation that I've had with owners. I'll try to find you a script. And if you want to text me or get me your information later, I can try to send you a script, but I've kept it very basic. And with property owners, the more basic, the better, especially the initial conversation. And then you can jump into the numbers after that.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. There's another question for, is it normal to sell? In a normal sale of a business, you should ask GIF the last 3 months on sales for the last 3 months. I think on a normal sale of a business, yeah, you can definitely look at the last 3 months, but I like to go at least the last 12 months to see a trend. And when you see a business up for sale, most buyers are going to assume that business is for sale because it's not doing well. So that's why you have to dig a little bit and find out, are they really doing well, or are they just ready to retire, or what's the case? So you have to ask a few questions in that manner. But yeah, the more data you can get for sales, the better. And that would be something that I would recommend. It depends on the business too. So if it's a specific type of business, call me and I can kind of explain what to look for. Some of them have, rent coming, or some of them have a lot of overhead costs, which you can't control. So there's going to be a lot of variables before you endorse that product for your buyer. And when I say endorse, I don't mean tell your buyer, hey, it's a good business, go buy this. Never ever say that. But what I mean is you can say, hey, look, the data looks good, but you make your decision on this.
Do you find it a good idea to say like bring in some business consultants? You know, because a lot of the ones that I've run across are more like CPAs and everything anyways, but they've done, you know, marketing strategies and everything like that for, like, say you want them to get the best offer for their business or what?
Yeah. When you mean business consultants, you mean like folks in the commercial world?
Yeah, yeah, they're basically business consultants. So like they have their specialties, whether it's like restaurants or hospitality industry, you know, I don't would be I don't know, daycare or you know, that kind of service and just those kind of things that
Yeah.
they've already had. So when you're listing that, is that something like maybe you would say, hey, why don't you get your business, you know, running better or something like that?
For a listing side, yeah,
Or list
yeah,
it.
definitely. You can definitely add that as a second layer of not, a service that you're offering. So depends on the type of business, but you're right. If I have a commercial listing coming up and it's a hotel, I'm going to call a couple of people that are in the industry to get their opinion on the data. So yeah, I think it's a good idea, Jennifer. It's good to, network with some business folks and besides lenders, because I have found that they bring a lot of value, whether it's a small business or a big business. They have always helped me analyze, and I can get you a number of a couple of them that I've talked to in the past. So they'll do a free analysis, and they see this stuff all the time with different businesses and so on. So getting an actual expert in a specific industry is great, but sometimes you may not find that person quickly. So the lender will be one of the people that I would recommend you call. A commercial lender was well versed in everything, as far as what they see, and they'll also run an analysis for you for your potential buyer to let them know, hey, we can do this loan or we can't because this is too high or this is too high. So that's why I always like to talk to a lender about it, because they're the ones ultimately who are going to give you the loan or your buyer the loan. So that's the one you really want to kind of pick their brain on. But the expert side of it, definitely a cool thing to do as well. Add that as a second layer.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Joanne is asking if you got your CRE designation and you have agents that are asking if we'll offer a free class. I'm sure they will. EXP Commercial is starting to do their own classes. And so if you are to log on to EXP Commercial's site, they are offering these to, non-EXP Commercial agents, these classes and just some webinars and that kind of thing. So yeah, I would definitely look on that side and also look on the training calendar for, EXP as a whole. And I think they're probably going to come out with a few more for the commercial side. Dana is asking, what form do we write to get the commercial percentage agreement? I assume, Dana, you mean the commercial commission, and
Yeah.
that is, okay. So that is it is in, I'm not sure if you guys use zip forms, but there's a form in zip forms, and it's there. It's called a commercial agreement between brokers type of a document. So it will list, and when you write the actual, offer or contract, it will also state it on there. Even if the listing side sends one to you and they say, hey, we have one ready, when you're reviewing it, they will have a section for the commission. So, but zip forms has a lot of commercial forms. So I would go in zip forms and kind of explore. Just if you were to type in COMM in the search, it will bring up all of the list of commercial forms, and take a look at the seller's agreement, the listing agreement, take a look at the buyer's rep agreement, and then take a look at the commission agreement. There's also amendments you can look at. So zip forms has been very educational. So I suggest you go into zip forms and take a look at some of those commercial forms.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Oh, Sydney sent something to you, John. So if you want to take a look at that link. And Amanda asked a question, what are your thoughts on syndications? That seems to be a normal occurrence in multifamily and commercial. Oh yeah, okay. So it is It is definitely something that's been happening, especially in multifamily, Amanda. So I think it would be good for everyone to kind of get a little bit more knowledge on the syndications as well. And it's good to get the clients involved with it too, and just give them a little bit of information about the syndications itself. But that's something that it's good to research on. Sorry about that. My phone is going off. It feels like a month.
Nikki, I also had a question about like if you have like a business location, right? But they're like, hey, I just really want to get out of this business and I want to sell all the other locations I have, maybe in other states or maybe in their different country. How do you structure that deal, or who do you need to get involved in that?
For seller side, you can get basically a listing agreement with them, and that listing agreement will tell them that you're listing this particular location, plus you're going to list the other ones for sale as well. And when you create the listing on LoopNet and CoStar, there in the description section, you can write information about other locations. You can even create flyers about the other locations and say, hey, this can be a package deal, or this can be an individual sale of each location. So you can specify that in the listing itself in LoopNet. And whenever you get calls on them, you can specify that stuff. You can say, hey, look, there are 4 locations and each one's for sale. If you want to do a package deal, let us know. If you want to just do individual purchases, that's fine too. So I saw a listing for 3 restaurants, but it was all 3 at a certain price, and then each one was separated by a different price. So you can do that.
And so my real question is, though, when it's across state lines, right? We may not necessarily have our license there. Do we need to get another agent there to finalize the paperwork for us, or is that the referral fee, or is it really just as a package deal we can sell that? I mean, that's my core question too.
Oh, it's a good question. It's a good question on that end. So I'll find out about the sales side of it. As far as purchasing, you definitely want to get a referral, because most likely you're not an active licensed agent in that state. So that will be a tough one for the purchase of it. For selling, like representing the seller, if the origination, or if the seller is based out of Texas, you may be able to get EXP to still help you handle the deal. As long as the closing is done in Texas, I think that would be something that would be a requirement. So that's something you really want to ask EXP brokerage about. And I'm going to ask as well. I'll message Tony and Ina to see if they can clarify. But most likely across state lines, you'd have to get another agent involved for the purchase. For the sales side of it, you may be able to still handle it. So it'll depend on where the closing gets done.
Okay.
Cool. Hope that helps.
Yes.
Mickey, for agents who maybe just starting and just want to get into it, how would you say to advertise or market yourself? I can't do open houses at commercial properties.
I would recommend doing a couple of things, Sydney, is to get with a commercial agent and see if they will tutor you a little bit. You can shadow them. So I've had some agents that have come to like listing appointments with me, and also come to just buyers appointments with me, like if we're touring a property. You can start with that, and then as far as marketing it, whenever you're doing any sort of networking, you can also say my group does commercial, and you can just start a conversation by saying my group, and then if someone shows interest, you can get a 3-way call between me and that person and you. And because we've done that before, to where we've had calls and I have basically been an extension of that agent, and I've said, hey, we're partners, I have a little bit more experience, so that's why I'm here, and I'm happy to answer the questions and that kind of thing. So my advice to getting started is to try to shadow a little bit, and don't say no to any questions, especially any deals. Don't say no, even if you're not an expert in that category for commercial. You have someone like me here who can help you. So that I want you to kind of grow that side of it. And the only way you can do that is if you kind of plunge yourself into it. There's only so much training you can take, but I learned in commercial that until you do the real deal, it just does not prepare you. for all the classes are there, but they just don't prepare you for what's going to happen when you actually do a transaction. So my advice is to shadow. My advice is to, ask questions. And if this is something that our group is really, really wanting to get into, maybe we can have, monthly calls to go over questions and that kind of thing. And, just educate everybody a little bit more about how to proceed with getting their, commercial side going a little bit. For me personally, Sydney, when I wanted to do more commercial, it was just conversations. I mean, I would walk into a gas station to buy a Gatorade, and I'd ask the gas station guy, "Hey, how's business for you? You're doing good? Do you want to expand? If you ever want another store, here's my card. Call me." So those are things you can do, and any business you go into, sandwich store, you go to a Subway or a Jimmy John's or something, they are franchises. But I'm just giving that name as an example. But you can talk to the owner there, if the owner's there, and say, "Hey, if you're looking to lease new space, we do leases at our brokerage. Give me a call." So any business you walk into, you can do that, and put your name out there, hand out the business cards to the businesses and say, "Anytime you want to grow, call me and I'll help you grow." So that's something cool to explore. One of my first commercial deals came about just out of word of mouth. I was talking to a friend and I was telling him about how I made the switch to EXP. So this was 3 years ago. And, I think he said something like, "Well, my businesses, my bosses are wanting to expand. And if you ever come across warehouses, let me know." That was literally all he told me. And then I messaged him back the next day. I said, "Hey, I can find you some warehouses. What can I help you with?" And that conversation led to me helping that company move their business from where they were for 30 years to a new location. The new location was a 110,000 square foot warehouse. And it was my first industrial deal. And it was technically my first commercial deal, all put together. And it took 18 months. So, there was 18 months of hard work that went into it. But, in the end, everybody was happy and, everybody got paid. And I've never seen a commission like that before. But it was a proud moment because I had to learn so much on the fly. And there's a lot that goes into it. But if I hadn't had that little seed that I planted with my friend, it just never would have even came to me, because the very next week they were talking about looking for commercial brokers, to help them move. And because I said something to my friend like, "Hey, I can do that," he just passed my name along, and then they interviewed me and they liked me. So they used me, So anytime you see an opportunity to talk to someone about small business or leasing or anything, leases are quick and easier compared to anything else, on the commercial side. So going back to answering your question, Sydney, just have these conversations, pass out the cards, and then shadow whenever you can. Shadow someone who's going to go do like a listing appointment or a walkthrough, and get to know the lingo a little bit. Good question.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, so someone's asking, how can they apply to mentor? So if you're doing a commercial deal, you just have to let EXP know that you're going to be doing a commercial deal, and you can message the broker team and just let them know that you intend on doing a commercial deal with a commercial mentor. And you can do this by telling them that you want to use me as your mentor, or you can look around. I mean, I'm not saying you just have to come to me, but that's the best way to go about it, is that let EXP's broker side know that there's a commercial deal you're working on, and you're going to be picking a mentor. As soon as you put it in SkySlope, they're going to see it and they're going to call you and say, "Hey, you don't have commercial experience, so go get a mentor." So you'd rather just get a mentor up front. So that way you're kind of handling the deal with the guidance from the mentor. So I say jump on that quickly, and there's no application right now, unfortunately. It's just I see your message there. You're welcome, Joanna. And yeah, definitely, call me anytime and I'll help you out. But there is no form right now. So the mentorship is basically through telling EXP that, you want a mentor, you're going to use a mentor, and you're going to get a deal done through the residential side. So that would be my recommendation. What other questions can I go over with? Oh, someone's asking, Koyana's asking about how do we get endorsed as CRE, and any links. I'll look up some links and I'll probably send them to Sydney to kind of send to you guys. and kind of go from there.
Do you have an email address, or can I just give out your?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. I'll put it in the chat box. How about that?
And then she could reach out to you. She said that
Yes,
she's
yeah.
taking tests soon.
Yeah, I'll put my phone number and my email. And you know, if I don't pick up, it's not because I'm screening you or anything. It's because I'm probably on a call. So if you want to text me, I'll text you right back. I'm very quick with text. Okay, so here's my number and then my email. All right. And does EXP have a LOI form? They do not, Joanna. So I have one that I use. I created it, and you know, going back to the beginning of the call, I kept mine very simple, very to the point, and it's just a one-page LOI. The LOI's description is letter of intent, right? So you don't want to put a lot of terms on that document. You just make it simple. And so what I put on my LOI, and I'll email it to you if you shoot me an email to say, hey, can you send me a sample? And I'll send it over to you. The LOI basically has information on the property address, whether it's a lease, we're gonna, you know, make an offer on the lease number that my client wants. And then the terms, how many years, is there gonna be a renewal? And if there's a build out for the lease, and those are the basic things I'll put in there. If it's a purchase LOI, I'm putting the price, I'm putting how many days we want for, you know, option period, which is due diligence period, and how many days we want for closing. You know, so I'm keeping it very basic. The LOI is, think of that as a conversation starter. It's just to start the conversation about what your client intends to do with the listing side. And then when that LOI does get accepted, what they'll do is they will have, the listing side usually has their own lease or their own contract. They're going to send it to you, and you will then have it reviewed by your client's attorney. I don't get involved in reviewing these because that's not our job. We just provide the paperwork, but you have the attorney review the actual like lease agreement or purchase agreement. And if the other side says, hey, create your own, you go in zip forms and there's an offer on there. There's an offer document, you know, commercial offer. And it's very similar to a residential, so you won't get lost, but there are things you definitely have to put in there, you know, regarding terms. So that'll be something you want to kind of handle with zip forms. Just play around with some of those forms, print them out, fill them out, you know, practice on them, that kind of thing. But the going back to the LOI, it's just, I created my own and I kept it very basic. I'll send you a sample, whoever emails me that wants one. Oh, Dana, you're saying why not use a Trek LOI? You can. You can use that one. I've seen it. It's good. And the one that I like to use, that's mine. I just I'm so used to it. It's just habit. So that's the only reason. But yeah, take a look at the Trek LOI. Good call on that, Dana. That's a good one. So, you know, practice on that too. You don't have to create your own. You can use the one in zip forms of the Trek LOI. Joanne's asking about my next listing appointment. I will probably have one coming up soon. I don't know if she's on this call, but Jamie Rodriguez is, you know, asked me to help her list a commercial property for lease. And this property has like 5 or 6 different spaces. So we're working on that now. And if you message me, I'll put it out there. The next time I go out there to do the walkthrough with the owner, you can come shadow. So that'll be coming up soon, probably in the next couple of weeks. All right. And then Dana, you want me to send you the LOI template? Sure, I will. I'll copy and paste your email and I'll send it over to you. Not a problem. All right. Oh, you're emailing me now. Okay. All right. Sounds good. So I'll reply back to you. I'll send you that sample. It's simple though. Okay. And I kept it that way on purpose. Any other particular questions I can go over? There's a lot of info on commercial. You're not going to learn all of it in today's call, but I think I wanted to just give you some basic insight into what it can take for a commercial deal to get done. It can take 3 months. It can take 18 months, but the reward at the end of that 18 months is great. So, you know, patience is required quite a bit. And that's why I haven't switched to commercial, because like if I'm waiting for some of these deals to get done, at least I can still practice my residential while I'm waiting on these bigger checks to come through. And oh, Koyan's asking, how do we market commercial land for ground lease? Are you going to be representing the landowner? If you are, you can officially get a listing agreement. If you're not, if you just want to kind of market that for potential, tenants, you can ask for permission. You can contact them, just say, hey, can I market your land for potential, bringing you tenants in the future? And they would definitely, welcome that. So you can contact them directly, or the listing side. If there's already a listing, if you see a billboard, call that agent, say, hey, I'd love to bring you a tenant on this property whenever it's ready. Can I market your property? And they'd be dumb to say no to you. You're welcome. Any other questions I can cover, guys?
Yeah, I had one about the commercial syndication. So like, I have like the accredited buyers, but then I have the other ones that would like bring, part of the funding as well. Like, how exactly do we structure that? Is it the lawyer just goes ahead and writes up the agreement between, I guess, whatever the tenant, co-tenants, or whatever it's called, the co-ownership agreement, sorry. Or do we just like put them all on if there's like maybe 4 or 5?
No, I would definitely recommend an attorney writing that up and kind of having a organized, thing about it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend an attorney. And if you guys want a commercial attorney, I have a couple of them that I worked with, so you can always contact me and I'll get you in touch with them.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Fabiola, good to see you again. And yeah, definitely reach out whenever you want, and we'll get that deal done. Let's talk whenever you want.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Mickey, for the training.
You are welcome. And my last thing I'll kind of last bit of nugget I'll give you guys is that I appreciate you giving me a chance to educate you a little bit. And this is just a very complicated side of it, but it can get simple if you just kind of have the right tools in place. And I'm happy to help you and guide you through that. And so keep in mind that this first call was great, but there's a lot more to learn out there. I'm still learning, and I'll be happy to take a journey with you on your commercial side whenever you want.
Mickey.
Awesome.
Thanks, Mick.
Hey,
Appreciate
Mickey.
it, guys.
Hey, Mickey, question quick.
Yeah.
Your email,
Mhm.
is that group.com or?
No, it
Just
ends in
group?
group. I know it's
Ah,
funky.
Yeah,
But it's
thank you.
Mickey@mpr.group. That's
Thanks.
the end of it. You're welcome. Yeah.
Got
So
it.
.com was taken. So I had to take group.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Anything else I can cover with you guys? Any last minute questions? Well, good. Okay. Well, I think we had a good call. Sydney, thank you for asking me to get on. And I appreciate every participant that joined, and call me anytime you guys have any questions. I'm here.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And we'll send everyone an email afterwards with the recording and any extra sources that we may have.
That'll be great, Sydney. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. You have a great week.
Thanks,
Bye,
Mickey.
everyone.
Thank you, guys. Take care.